Correct me if am I saying your name correctly if I say Abbesi?
Abbesi.
Abbesi. So it's Abbesi, not Abbesi. What does it mean?
It means in the hands of God in Esako language. So that's on my father's side.
In the hands of God. Wow, that's profound.
You know what? They just give us us kids the names, and we just have to go with it.
That's profound. But no, it's a good name to be given and to come into the world with, right?
I would say most Nigerian names that I come across, a lot of them have God in it. So I'm not surprised. It's just the language difference. Maybe if it's in Yoruba, if it's in Igbo, or like one of the other smaller languages, like on my dad's side. So.
Right. Well, unless you didn't catch that, this is Abbesi. She's a filmmaker, and we're here at the Toronto International Film Festival, if I could get that out, Toronto International Film Festival 2017, where her film screened. Was this your world debut?
This is the first time I've applied to a festival, and then it actually got into the festival, and then me coming to the festival for my own work. I actually produced a short film last year that screened at TIFF. So it wasn't my first time at TIFF, but it was just my first time with my own film, like my own, something like your own thing. So it feels very good. It feels good that it's your own.
So tell us about this film that's your own. What's the story? How did you come about?
So the story is about a father, takes place in Nigeria, and it's about a father who is disciplinary, stern, more stoic, reserved in emotions, and he has an estranged son that has gone missing. So as the patriarch and leader of his household, he is pushed into looking for his estranged son. So that's what the story is.
I still have not heard from Patrick.
You'll be fine.
How you do sure?
What be sure they do before?
Sir, I come here, he said they arrest my son and they release him on Thursday.
Yes.
Now, today, Saturday. I've not seen him.
And it was inspired from kind of usually with myself in film, it's a culmination of things that are happening and then you come up with the idea. But I would say what sparked it was I was in Nigeria visiting family, and I was visiting a relative, and it was a very intimate moment, but basically he was just explaining what had happened to his son. So his son had been killed. And I just remember really being drawn to the story and how he was reacting to it. It wasn't what it was no crying, and actually the news had just happened recently, but he seemed fine. And I started thinking, and the wheels started turning in my head, and I was like, you know what, have I ever seen my dad cry about anything? I was like, have I seen any kind of these males in my life, cry about things or be really sad or emotional about things? And the answer was no. And that's when the story started turning and coming about. And I was like, okay, what about, I want to explore this. This is a part of masculinity, culture, and those sorts of things. Because my father is a Nigerian man, and growing up with him and just all of those different sides and facets, I said, okay, I want to explore that. And that's how the short film came about.
And you did a beautiful job of showing that conflict of emotion. Like, that was the sense that I got from the father, that, this is, even when he, and I hope I'm not giving away the plot here, but when he talks to the son who is at home about, this is what you have to be, the younger son. And so in terms of, like, what was your intention? What did you want the world to see or to receive in you putting this film out?
I feel like the thing that I really wanted to share was this is my experience with my upbringing with Nigeria. A lot of the things that happen in the film, actually, I've taken those lines from things that my own father has told me before. So he said, he was saying, as kids, my sisters and I, my dad would, wake us up early in the morning, talking to us, lecturing us about something, education, schoolwork, working hard. So those are things that come out just naturally. So that's actually, that conversation is something that my dad would have did. Like, okay, even if it wasn't something bad that we had did, or he's just like, all right, you guys come downstairs. We're like maybe 10 or something years old. All right, so what are you gonna do? Where are you gonna go to college? Then what's gonna happen after that? All right, you need to get a job. So it's definitely what I want the audience to take away from the film is that this is, you know, a cultural, maybe they can take some cultural things away, or they may be able to relate to their own family dynamics, things of that kind. I would be so happy. People say, oh yeah, I can really see it, or, you know, that's the first time I've seen something like that before. That wasn't in my own family, but I can see this now because you put this out there. I'd be really happy.
So what did your father think? Did he recognize himself in the film?
I don't think so.
Well, now he's hearing it.
I don't think so. I don't know. I guess I don't know how much of an inspiration I don't think my parents know how much of an inspiration they have been to me as someone who's a Nigerian American. So I don't think so. He just watched the film and he's very, I would say he's very like, all right, what are your next steps? All right, so you did this thing, good. All right, what are you gonna do next? What's the next thing? Do this, do this, do this. All right, where are you gonna go here? Are you gonna go there? Okay, are you gonna go get your PhD now? What's going on? So it wasn't like, yes, I see myself. But he's very results, I feel like results-driven type of person, father, so.
Now, you bring up an interesting point about being Nigerian American. Is that something that's been a source of conflict for you personally in terms of trying to balance the two cultures?
I would say, I mean, yes, I feel like it comes up, but I feel as I've gotten older, I have discovered, and I'm continuing to discover things about myself and culture. So, I mean, at times, yes, they can conflict, but it's not something that I see as an inhibitor. It's something I feel like I definitely draw strength from. I'm very proud of my Nigerian heritage as well as on my mom's side. Her African-American heritage, I'm very much proud of both of those things. And I've just kind of like latched on to both of them. But I've just been going to Nigeria, and I guess with culture, it's interesting because I've always felt it's something that is just, when you just put yourself out there, it's just, Nigeria, I feel like, is always just written all over you because of how Nigerian people are. And it's just like, okay, if you meet someone and they'll be looking at your name, okay, they see your name, just the name alone, like Abbesi Akhamie, they're just like, where are you from? And it's just, so it's no escaping, it's no running from it. So I just fully embrace it. So any conflicting things, yeah, sure, there's things that come up, but I don't let it bother me. I guess I am who I am, and I can't change those things. So if you can't change it, then embrace it, and love yourself and who you are, your heritage, and those things.
Is that something that has always been? Have you always had that feeling, or like when you're younger, were you proud of your Nigerian heritage?
Yes, I think like as children, maybe you don't really know and understand. You just like when you're just going to school, you just go to school, you meet other kids. It wasn't until like I got older that I was more self-aware, like, okay, I'm a little bit different. Like, I don't have a name Sally or Sue. So I'm just like, and then I start asking I was like, okay, mom, dad, okay, so what does this mean? What does my name mean? So my parents will say about me, ever since I was a child, I was always very inquisitive. So I'm always wondering, okay, what does this mean? But then there's some things that you just grow up around with. You don't really know that you're different until you're getting older, like when we're eating food. Like, I didn't know that. I remember once when I was a child, like I was a kid, I was like, oh, well, do you eat we used Bisquick at the time, but I was like, don't you eat Bisquick and egusi? And they're like, wait, what is that? And I'm like, yeah, I'm thinking that everybody's eating those kinds of things. And so it's not until you get older that I was more self-aware. So I think that I was always pretty proud, and then as I became more self-aware, it just added on to that. Like, all right, this is where I know, this is where my dad's family is from, and I embrace it. They won't not let you embrace it. So just like, you're a Nigerian. This is where you come from. This is where your families come from. This is where your grandfather was from. All that they like keep telling you and telling you. So.
Now, you mentioned your mom, you mentioned your dad, and you said a few moments ago that they inspired you. Like, describe to me, like, in what ways they inspired you and how that's had an impact on the person that you've become.
I guess because, I think they've inspired me because of the things that the stories that I wanted to tell. I would say, I think that's mainly the big thing. They just inspire the stories that I want to tell. They're the inspiration as individual people and as people together. So exploring those relationships and things of that kind. Because I'm coming from a bicultural household, and I've gone to school, I'm educated, these things are just more interesting to me. You go on and you're asking questions. So I just think their relationship as two people from different cultures is very interesting and fascinating. And it comes out in the things that I write. So sometimes I may just like, okay, I want to say something about this. I want to talk about Nigeria. I want to talk about my dad. And then sometimes I say, okay, I want to talk more about my mom. And sometimes I'll say I want to put them both together, like something I'm working on right now. Putting the two things together because that's what I'm a product of. So.
And how did the film come about? So you were inspired by the things that happened. How did you come up with the name? So.
Oh, the name. So there's the name that's in the native, like in my dad's native language, which is Eseko, which is in Edo State. So also too, Eseko is spoken by FMI people. So there's that title, but the title I've been more using just for promotion of the film is the English title. Which means still water runs deep. So that title actually came up when I was at a service in church when I was with my mom. So I go to church on Sundays when I'm with my mom at home. So it was around Father's Day. And the pastor of the church was giving a sermon on fathers. And fathers and you know, relating that to the scripture, whatever, I can't remember the scripture used or what he was saying, but I remember him saying that the term still water runs deep. And I was like, and I looked at my mom and I was like, I've never heard of that saying before. And then he went on to explain that still water basically means that on the surface level, things look fine, but then deep within, there's things going on and emotions turning. So a lot of people, so if you have a quiet person, they may describe that person, okay, this person's maybe quiet, but then they'll say maybe the term, but still waters run deep. So whatever's within that person is contained. So I said, okay, that makes sense. And it was also, he was saying that, that phrase to describe men. And I was like, this is just like a no-brainer. And I was like, this is what the title's supposed to be because this is the character Imodu in the film. He's someone that is always outwardly very strong. Like, it's a short film, so it's only a slice. But you can imagine that in a household, in a Nigerian household, the father figure is someone who's very strong, or we can say typically very strong and disciplinary, and someone, but you probably may not see him cry. Like I was saying, I haven't seen my dad cry about something or get very emotional, but he does, those feelings are in there somewhere. We're all still human. We just don't come out with everything. So that's where Still Water Runs Deep came from.
What was your biggest challenge in making the film?
I guess, wow, there were a lot of challenges, but there were also victories. So I'll first say that. I would say a challenge without dispelling the whole thing, revealing everything that happened, every challenge. I would say, okay, well, I guess one challenge would be the crew members who were from my program, they were coming to Nigeria for the first time. So just getting acclimated to a new place, meeting new people and things like that, I would say was a challenge, but a challenge that we overcame. Of course, things come up, you know, people adjusting to the food and culture. Some things that you see, you know, perhaps in Nigeria, you may never have seen before. And you just be like, wow, does that happen? And it's natural to everyone else in the place. Nobody else is minding, but because you're coming from somewhere else and you're seeing this for the first time, it can be shocking. So I think for the...
What would an example of that be?
I guess, let's see. Well, in Nigeria, there's people who are in Nigeria, I'll say specifically, Lagos traffic, let's say, and there are young people and men, young men and men as well, walking on the streets, and they're carrying things, selling things in the window. For me, I'm like, when I was in Nigeria, those things didn't bother me. But perhaps for someone else, for maybe some of the crew members, they're like, wow, whoa, they're crossing in between the streets. Whoa, he's crossing. I'm like, it's okay, don't worry. They're gonna run across, they're gonna get hit by a car. It's okay. So things like that are just different. I'm like, because in Lagos traffic, it's just bumpers. Sometimes it could be bumper to bumper, and you get hungry in the car. So you can just go, hey, I want to buy this or buy this off the street and do those sorts of things. But for someone else, it can be a little bit shocking to see, because I don't know that those things happen anywhere in the United States. Not that I know of. So.
And so you said that, some of the people some of your crew were from your program. What program was that you...
Oh yeah, so the program I'm from is New York University graduate film program. I must put a plug because I'm very proud graduate of the program. So it's a great school. It's a great program for all areas, covering all areas of film. So they're trying to mold you and shape you into the filmmaker you want to become. So that's the DP, Dominica Erickson. She was from my program. We were in the same class, as well as the first AD/gaffer. We were in the same program, and the first AD, gaffer, and the first AC as well, MA. They were all from the program. So, and then as well too, it's at NYU, it's about collaboration and seeing who you can get. So actually the producer, Melissa Adeyemo, she is from Stern. So not too far, literally right across the street, just crossing over. And she gratefully, and I'm very grateful that she agreed to produce the films, because she's been in Nigeria and worked there. So yeah, so we're all from New York University, but we were from different departments. That was where some of the crew came from, and then the other positions that we needed help with, we got those from Nigeria.
And when you put the film out, what was your expectation, and you've had success? I mean, the fact that it was selected for Toronto International Film Festival, which is a big name festival. Mm-hmm. What did you expect would happen with the film? I don't know what my expectations were. I came in just not, of course I wanted it to go to a festival, but I didn't want to say it out loud, because I was like, okay, I was saying to myself, you know what? I feel like I did a good job on the film, so if the film doesn't get in anywhere, it's okay. So I was telling myself and coaching myself that, because a lot of great films don't get into festivals. It's just, it's the way of the business. So, I don't know what I was expecting, but I know when I got the email that I had gotten in, I was so happy and so grateful. I was just like, I can't believe it, that this is something, because it's a long journey. I would say this journey started for me when I was the journey really, I feel like a good starting point was when I was coming into the graduate film program. So that was 4 years ago. And then this is just a culmination of that. This film was actually my thesis film that I used to graduate from the program. So 4 years of being patient and not really working on things and working your craft. And a lot of times you're not going to be recognized. So I was like, wow, I was so happy when I got into the festival. So I don't know that I wasn't expecting anything. You're just expecting to graduate, right?
Yeah, graduating. I was like, all right, that would be a good thing. So this has just been way beyond, blessings beyond my wildest dreams. So.
And so from a practical perspective, in terms of shooting the film, mm-hmm. So obviously you had the challenge of you're going to Nigeria, the logistics of all of that. Right. How long did it take you to plan the shoot, to actually do the shoot, and then how long did it take to edit?
Well, I would say that, it took about a solid year from the inception, and then I actually shot the film after I had finished my third year of classes. So I had shot the film in March, So from end of March until, or I would say
So
April.
you were shooting for like, how long were you actually in Nigeria? And was it all shot in Nigeria?
Yes, it was all shot in Nigeria. I actually arrived early. So I was there in February, and I stayed up until the time when everyone went home. Of course, everyone's good and back home safely and everything. So it was like, yes, it was a lot of logistical planning. Making sure the equipment got there, because I was using the equipment from school. And then also too, the editing took place from April, May, sound. I mean, it's, for a short film, it's at the same, even though it's shorter, it doesn't mean that you don't have to do proper sound. It doesn't mean that you don't have to make the DCP file, which is the correct file for screening at the festivals. All those things that need to be done for a feature also need to be done for a short film. So I would say it's been a year, a solid year of working on the project, and I imagine that it's going to continue. It's my hope that the film will also get into other festivals. There'll be other requirements, so myself and the team are still working, and whatever things come up, we have to do to.
And so what, you're a filmmaker now? You can officially say you're a filmmaker?
I think so. Yes, I'm going to say
You own that?
Yes, I'm a filmmaker.
And so was that something that, when did you know you wanted to be a filmmaker, and what drew you to filmmaking?
I knew that I wanted to be a filmmaker when I was in high school. I had been putting together short video presentations when I was in high school, in middle school too. Like as soon as I was like the computer person a little bit in my house, at least in my household. So I would do small videos, making it on social issues or something like that. And I would say when I was graduating from high school, and it was the year that Slumdog Millionaire came out by Director Danny Boyle. And I remember us high school kids, like we just went, my group of friends, we walked from class after school had finished to the mall, and that's where the theater was. It was pretty close by. And it was like, yeah, let's all go see Slumdog Millionaire. And I was so mesmerized, and I was like, you know what, this is what I want to do. But at that time, I didn't know all that went into it. So I was like, okay, yeah, this is what I want to do. I'm going to do this. All right, let me just get my undergraduate degree out of the way, and I want to go to a really good school to really leverage myself and get myself to where I need to go. So, but most importantly, I feel like I wanted to do, I don't know that I knew I wanted to be a filmmaker, because I was just seeing something and I was like, okay, I want to do that. It wasn't until I got older and when I was in college, I was, okay, script writing. Do I want to be a writer? Do I want to direct? What aspect of filmmaking do I actually want to do? So I didn't know that in high school. So I wonder, I jokingly say to people, if I would have known what it was exactly that went into this, if saying you want to be a filmmaker, I may have turned around. I may have just turned around. So, I mean, God has a funny way of doing things. So it just worked out like, okay, and then now I can't stop. I have to this is what I want to do. But did I know perfectly and crystal clear? I was saying, yes, I was like, all right, I want to do this. I want to get into film, but I didn't know what went into it. So it's kind of...
So I was going to ask you, my next question was going to be, what advice would you give to somebody who watches your film and thinks, I want to do that, I want to be a filmmaker?
Wow. For someone to advise.
And especially a young Black African woman, like what would you say to her based on what you've experienced and some of the challenges that you've had to overcome?
Right. Well, I think I am a good person to ask the question because I have experienced challenges, and it's not easy, and it's not for the faint of heart. But I would say if there's anything that you really want to do, just do it. I don't know that there's a proper avenue. I would say if you have the means, I would definitely recommend NYU's graduate film program. But I know that a lot of people don't have the means to do that. So wherever you are, if you can get involved in some sort of production, as a PA, and then really see if this is what you really want to do. And I would say one thing I've been doing but I didn't know that I would become this person that I'm becoming. I've always written down ideas. I remember when I was in high school, I would write in the back of my agenda, I would write quotes, just writing quotes and different ideas and things of that sort. And now I look back and I'm just like, okay, maybe this was the making of who I am. This was definitely the making of a filmmaker, but I didn't know at that time. So I would say keep writing and reading, watching films, watching TV, all of those things. I've heard that some of the most accomplished people in the film industry today are still working on their craft. They go to workshops. They read, like I heard something like Jake Gyllenhaal reads, on average of like a ridiculous number of scripts every year. And I'm just like, oh my gosh, I need to be doing that. I need to be doing that too. So I would say for anyone who's really, for a Black African filmmaker or a Black African woman who really wants to get into this sort of thing, just start prepping yourself, getting ready, because there's gonna be a time where you may not have all of this time and energy to be doing these sorts of things. Read scripts, watch films, and try to connect with people who are interested in doing the same thing. I'm definitely easy to connect with, and I'm friendly. So, I mean, it's easy to get in contact with me, and I'm also encouraged, being in groups where you can be encouraged as well, because people need to be encouraged. It's a long journey, a long journey.
Where do you, so now you say that, you're like, it's a long journey. Where do you see yourself? Like, where do you think the journey is taking you? Where do you see yourself 5 years from now?
In 5 years from now, I see myself as having directed a feature film in Nigeria. I see myself just constantly working on the craft, bettering myself. I think that it's just like I was saying, it's a long journey, and by going to a film program or getting your MFA in film, that doesn't mean that you know everything. You have to still go on and forward in developing yourself. I see myself going through workshops, meeting other filmmakers, connecting, and maybe somewhere deep in my dream inside is somehow being an inspiration to other people to maybe pursue their dreams, or helping someone in some way. I feel that creativity and art is just as important as, a doctor. It has so many benefits that we don't maybe see at the eye, but within, it's definitely helping in medicine for our souls. So I hope that 5 years from now, that's what I'm doing. I'm creating, and I'm a confident young woman, and continuing the craft. That's my hope, my dream.
So you said making films in Nigeria. Is that important to you, to be telling African stories, and why is that important?
Yes, it is very important to me. Because as someone who's someone with Nigerian heritage, I feel that there's so much talent in Nigeria. I mean, we're just talking about Nigeria, but of course there's talent all throughout Africa, of course. But Nigeria in and of itself is just a very big country in people size. And that's just, we're talking about Nigeria, the country. We're not even saying the diaspora, which I fall under and a lot of my friends and colleagues fall into. So it's important. You just never I feel like you just never forget those things, where you come from, where your family is from. So it's important to me, and I want to be a part of this movement that I feel is coming, where there are young people such as myself, women, African filmmakers who are pushing the industry. Nigeria right now has a lot of films that are very commercial and sell out, those very melodramatic, fun, quirky films. I really would like to see more films that take place in Nigeria that have a indie feel to me, which is where myself and some other people are coming in. Those are the kind of things I want to see, and just by talking to people in the industry as well too, there is a craving like, Nigeria, you guys have done good and well in this section, but when are we gonna start seeing those very gritty stories. We're looking more for these things and those types of stories. So I think that's where the American side, the biculturalness comes into, because we're coming from the United States, wherever the United States or the Western world, and we're mixing or infusing this with Nigeria, heritage, upbringing, and those sorts of things. So that's particularly my style. I want to tell African stories with an indie edge. And I think that there's room for all of that. We need the people who are experimental, telling experimental stories from the continent. We need people who are doing the more maybe perhaps indie edge. We need also the films that are, commercial, rom-com drama, love stories, and things of that kind. There's enough room for all of it. So right now I'm working on the indie part, and I want to say, okay, I want to make another film in Nigeria, and I want to keep within this style, but I'm also not forgetting about what's already been done and the moguls and the people who have been paving the way, so to speak. So, hey, we can come back home and try and build up these things. So,
who are some of those moguls who are in Nigeria or in Africa that inspire you or that you look up to?
Well, right now I would say Ms. Mo Abudu. I feel like I've said that correctly. She is someone that I feel is just really making inroads, or not even inroads. She's just arrived already, and as a woman, as an African woman, she's just parting the sea and doing things. So I would say Mo is the first African woman that comes to mind that's an inspiration for all of the things that she's doing and putting together. I'm just like, yes, women are just putting these elements together and just soaring and doing well. It's not, I think more should be said about it. So I think, yes, so Mo would be at least one of those people I can just think off the top of my head. So I'll just leave her in that category by herself.
She is her own category.
Yes. Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Is there anything you want to tell me that I haven't asked you about?
No, your questions have been very spot on. I guess I would say it's just been great. It's been a great experience. It's not without making this whole film, coming to Toronto. It hasn't been without, some sad moments or just heartaches or just difficult moments. But I feel that something good is happening. Something very, very, very good is happening, I feel. And I'm also just so grateful for the experience and also grateful to my team. So Melissa Adeyemo is also a producer, also an African woman, African and based in New York as well too, who has really been striving and pushing to have, more of these indie stories from the continent coming through and pushing through. So just being around a lot of women who have the same drive, as well as my DP. She was also coming to Nigeria for the first time and just getting on board and just going with things. It's the support is great from my parents, from my family in Nigeria. It's just really encompasses. It takes a village to try to do something that's not very easy. But it's good I didn't know how difficult it was gonna be, so I just say, okay, yes, come on, let's go in, I can do it. And then you get in there and you're just like, all right, this is hard, but I'm gonna keep going, I'm gonna keep moving. So thank God we got through it, and we wanna do it again. So we're not totally scared away. So.
Well, I want to say thank you so much. Congratulations. I know it's a
you.
huge deal to be selected to screen at TIFF, and congratulations on your graduation. And just one more question before we let you go. So this project is called Ndini, which in my mother tongue, which is Shona, means I am. And part of that is because I've heard it said so often that anything you say after I am decides your destiny or determines your destiny. So if I ask you to please finish the sentence, I am.
Oh, I can only use one word.
No, you can use as many words as you like.
So I am Abbesi Akhamie. I am a Nigerian American filmmaker, and I'm coming to change this world. Did I do that right? I can say that. So, yes, I think, yes, that's who I am. All of those things.
And change the world you will. Thank you so
Thank you
much.
so much.
No,
I appreciate
thank
it.
you. It
Appreciate
was
you for
lovely
having
to
me.
have you, and thank you so much. Wish you continued success, and can't wait to see the next film at TIFF.
Yes, I don't know when yes, definitely. It's gonna happen. It's gonna be another film. Just working on it, getting the wheels rolling. It's coming.
Thank you. Thank you so much.
Thank you.